All right, we're off to a new week, and with it, a lot of financial news out there. And to talk about it all, we are joined once again by Winnie Sun, Managing Director of Sun Group Wealth Partners. Thanks again, Winnie, for taking the time.
Thanks so much for having me, Mike.
Yeah, of course. Let's get right into the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program. Round two, expected to launch today. I've been kind of looking around. It seems like no hiccups so far, but it did start this morning.
Yeah, fingers crossed. It started this morning, 7:30 our time here on the West Coast, but 10:30 East Coast, $310 billion. Let's see how long this lasts.
Yeah, I mean, I was curious in regards to the loan application, Winnie. I mean, for small businesses applying, and maybe they're probably doing it, maybe it's too late, but I mean, you need to have that thing teed up, ready to go. Because when the banks look at these applications, everything has to be in order.
Everything has to be in order, and a lot of it's done digitally right now. So in the first round, there were a lot of hiccups. So hopefully, during the time of hiatus, sort of between running out of money the first round and this round, that the banks have gotten things in order. And most importantly, we're hoping those like big publicly traded companies kind of stay out of this round, so you really get money to the small business owners that need it the most.
When I look at the numbers, I think it's around 30 million small businesses in the United States, and about 1.5, 1.6 million businesses were able to take advantage of that first round. I mean, that's when you think about it. I mean, it's like that's 28 million other businesses that are impacted. That's a huge number, and I know the second round will help, but it just shows you how many businesses probably won't be able to reopen down the road.
Exactly. It won't reopen, and a lot of small businesses still don't even know the process. They don't even know like where to go. They don't know and a lot of banks are actually closing them out of putting in that application, right? Because a lot of small business owners don't use the major banks, and a lot of the major banks even are sort of in the beginning opening them in such a speed that only the big businesses that have CPAs and accountants there to help them that with that application can get those applications done that swiftly.
Mhm. So maybe there's a small business out there that, well, they didn't get the loan first round. Maybe they're not going to get it the second round. Winnie, is there anything else out there that these businesses can take advantage of in trying to get money into their business?
Well, if they can, I would still encourage them to try and apply for this second round. There's not only the PPP loan, but there's the EIDL loan, which the federal government is offering as well. There's about $60 billion earmarked for that. So the best thing to do is actually for every small business out there to speak with their accountant or CPA to help them through the application process. I will tell you, as a financial advisor myself, obviously numbers is my thing. I looked at the application for several of my clients. Some of that really is going to come down to how fast your accountant can get you that data, because that data is not that easy to come by. Now, if you can't go that route and you still need funding, I mean, there's other programs like unemployment, unfortunately, that you can look at, and that includes that business owner as well as their employees. So you got to figure out how you can take advantage of getting federal aid for your workers, most importantly, and as well as your businesses, just to keep you afloat if we can for the next 8 weeks at least.
And again, these are loans, right? I mean, these are not grants.
Well, interesting enough, these PPP loans are actually very favorable if you have employees and you're able to keep your employees paid. That's the critical thing, because 75% of this is designed for you to take care of payroll, and it is mostly forgivable. So it's really critical for the next 8 weeks. If you do get your PPP funding, what you want to do is set up a separate bank account altogether, a separate business bank account, to keep track of all the monies that you're paying to your employees, your payroll, but not to independent contractors, just your employees. So you want to make sure at least 75% of the money that you receive from the government goes towards payroll. And that is also giving you the best chance of having most of it being forgiven.
Okay, got it. Perfect. Thank you for making that point. Looking down the road, maybe a fourth stimulus package. I know there's a lot of politics in that in Washington, D.C., and whether or not that will happen. Is that something you foresee will happen?
I think it has to happen. I think there's a lot of politics in it. And where is this money going to come from? Obviously, taxpayers, we're looking at this. We're frantic from that point of view, but we also know a lot of people need help. Right now, we're looking at people are recommending that we stay hunker down at home even longer, perhaps even till the end of summer. People are going to need not only to be able to pay their rent, pay for groceries, pay for their mortgages. There's so many other considerations. And the bottom line is, there's so many Americans right now that are suffering and hurting and financially in distress. So we need to, whether or not we want to or not, I think we have no choice. We need to have another round.
Okay, so on that note, and you talk about so many Americans suffering right now, I want to
Mhm.
ask you more specifically about maybe someone 4 or 5 years away from retirement. And let's say they work for a company that's been hit hard, they're laying off people. If the company decides to hand over a sheet of paper and say, hey, this is your early retirement, we encourage you to take it. What's the advice that you would throw out there to someone who has that kind of dangling in front of them, whether or not to take this early retirement or try to stay with the company or look for other work?
We're certainly seeing a lot of that, especially in a lot of the media companies as well. You know, I had a few clients that reached out last week for that exact same reason. And I think that what happens is a lot of the larger companies are trying to get some of the costs off their balance sheets. And for many companies, that includes payroll. So when they're offering you sort of an early retirement package, that sort of that yellow sheet you're talking about of we want to try and get you retired or out of our company, you want to take a look at a lot of things. Most importantly, if they're offering you a package, remember, they may not offer you a package again. And sometimes that package means there's going to be some financial relief. Maybe they give you 3 months or 6 months of severance. Maybe there'll be extension of your medical benefits for a certain amount of time. Take a look at the ramifications of this package. I would highly recommend at this point to seek out a financial advisor to go through that with you in detail and also assess how much money do you have for the next 6 months or beyond? Do you have enough buffer to get you until you find that next job? Or are you in a situation where you can retire? You know, so you want to take a look at those numbers in a lot of depth and before you sign and agree to take that package. You know, companies are hoping more people will take those packages, but you want to make sure that it makes sense for you. And if something doesn't make sense, you can go back to your employer and perhaps ask for more or ask for an extension on your contract for maybe another 6 months or whatnot, just to get you and make sure it makes sense for you.
You're right. Yeah, it's always important to have that open communication with your employer,
Yes.
to have that honest conversation. Very important. What about this talk about in-service withdrawal? I don't know much about it. What can you tell us about this?
So in-service withdrawal is a big thing and it's been around for quite a long time. And especially what it means is as an employee at a company, if you're invested in your 401k plan, typically what happens, there's sort of two ways that you can take monies out of your 401k. Normally you would either have to take out a loan
Mhm.
or you're completely retired or you've left the company, at which point you can roll it into your own IRA rollover or you can take a distribution directly from your 401k or whatnot. But remember, when you do that, you're usually looking at a tax situation and possibly a penalty as well, or in the sake of a loan, you're paying interest. Well, in-service distribution is something a little different. That's typically where you reach the age of 59 and a half, almost 60, and you're still working at your company and you're still contributing to your 401k, but perhaps you're looking at your 401k choices at work and you're like, there's only maybe 20, 30 choices here. I want something better. I want to make sure my money's invested properly so I'm in good shape for retirement. So it allows you the option to roll out what you already have fully vested into your own IRA rollover with a financial advisor or a different company, and you have complete control on how you invest it. You can invest it in even things like CDs or stocks or bonds. You have a lot of flexibility. So if your company offers your in-service distribution, maybe something to look at. We've had a lot of clients recently reach out to us for that exact same reason. So something definitely to pay attention to. Ask your employer, do you offer an in-service distribution? It helps your money roll over to an IRA, completely tax defer, so there's no tax implication,
Very
and
good.
it just moves over. But you would have to make that decision, and there are a lot of details to kind of flesh out to make sure it's in your best interest.
In your conversations with your clients, I'm curious, if you had to pick one or two questions that you are getting peppered with, that you are getting the most, or what do they seem most concerned about or most interested in?
So I think the most common question is, am I going to be okay? And should I make some changes to my existing investments? Should I be selling because I'm worried? Is it going to get worse? And those are sort of the most popular questions. And I'm guessing many of you at home are feeling that way as well, is that you just don't know. And so what we try to tell them is, number one, your portfolio was designed to take you from point A to point B based on your risk tolerance. But if you look at these statements and you're feeling just sick to your stomach and you're losing sleep, then those are opportunities for discussion to perhaps reduce your risk and change the portfolio. But if your time horizon is still long and you have time ahead of you and you've still got a job and you still have income, maybe situations where we can take a look at maybe adding to certain positions that we feel strongly about. So I think it's sort of that over communication right now. Whatever you do, don't be shy. Reach out to your financial advisor, maybe your HR department at work. Talk to someone who knows and has experience about the financial markets, who ideally has been in the markets for more than 15 years, because the last 10 years have been nothing but positive. So you want someone who's been through the good and the bad and can walk you through point A to point B to get you through this.
Yeah. We had a conversation with friends the other day, and they brought up something about summer vacation, and they were saying, I think one parent wanted to continue a trip, and the other one said no. And I kind of rolled my eyes. I'm like, I can't believe we're having this conversation. So many people are struggling, but at the same time, there are individuals who are looking to maybe to get away. As soon as these restrictions are lifted in the weeks and months ahead, there may be an opportunity to travel. Do you recommend people to spend money right now? Because there are deals out there, but at the same time, maybe we should just tuck that money away.
That's a great question, and I've heard that too. We've had some clients ask that, and I have some friends ask that too. Like, should we start planning for things? And some of my good friends are in the points and travel community, and we had these conversations. I think it's a very individual thing. I think we've been all asked to stay home for so long. We're thinking a vacation sounds amazing right now, but I think for many of us, I think this is an opportunity for us to stay conservative in our spending. If you do plan a vacation, I would certainly look at things that are fully refundable. Maybe even consider staying close to home. Maybe a road trip would make a lot of sense right now. Book that hotel
Yeah,
that
good
you
point.
can cancel. But yeah, keep things simple.
Yeah, exactly. Winnie Sun, Managing Director at Sun Group Wealth Partners. Always appreciate your time, and have a safe week.
Thank you so much, Mike. Thanks for having me.
All right, of course.